84 WHAS, last segment with gubernatorial candidate Phil Moffett. I'm going to take one phone call and then I'm going to let you go ahead and give your big news. Bob, you're on 84 WHAS with Phil Moffett.
Well, Bob, I can understand how you believe that, but it's not a correct representation. When they were talking earlier in the session, the House Republican leadership actually put their people in a caucus session where they took basically a vote, and what was put in front of the caucus was basically, and they hadn't seen any legislation. They said to the caucus, "Do you support balancing the budget with drastic cuts in education?" Mm-hmm. And of course, just based on that question alone, there wasn't anybody in the room that agreed with it. But there was no legislation or any statement for them to review beforehand. That was just the statement.
So who decided that 1% is drastic?
I don't know who decided that, but it was Jeff Hoover is the Republican House leader. So he's the one that asked the question.
So where is Mike Harmon on this?
Oh, Mike Harmon's exactly in the same spot that I am. He doesn't believe that an overall 1.78% cut of our state budget is anywhere near drastic.
So he would support that now at this point if it comes to a vote.
I think he's Mike's like I am. He wants to see systemic problems taken out of our budget and out of our spending processes at the state level. These Band-Aid fixes of cutting 2% here and 1% there is no better than the baseline budgeting that the earlier caller brought up. We need to change the way we do things to save this money. Okay.
Now, a couple weeks ago, I was sort of, waxing poetic, not really poetic, on the air about I was wondering aloud, that's what I want to say, why it seems that your campaign is just not getting traction. Because when people hear you talk, they say, well, wow, he makes a lot of sense. But, I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about your campaign. And you sent me a very nice, or your campaign director said, you might be surprised. We're getting some polling information that says we might be getting more traction than you think. Now, I do want to say this, and I say this about any poll, especially internal polling. This is an internal poll done by your campaign, by an organization that you paid to do this. Now, you didn't pay them to come up, to hopefully give you bad news, but they gave you some good news. What is your internal polling showing?
Well, we paid this group to do the polling, but we want honest numbers because I'm not going to run a campaign on fluff. It has to be real numbers. And what they've come back with, and head-to-head with...
and who did they poll?
They polled 10,000 households in Kentucky. Roughly 1,000 of those households completed the poll. So it was a very widespread poll, and it was across the state. So it was a very broad base. And it was pitting the Moffett-Harmon ticket against the Williams-Farmer ticket. And we came in at 26% Moffett-Harmon, 25% Williams-Farmer, with 49% undecided, which is a big number.
That's a very big number, considering the name recognition that exists for Williams-Farmer.
That's exactly
already.
Right. And there are two other elements that we polled as well in this, and that was, would people prefer an establishment politician or someone with a business background that's new to politics? Roughly 85% of the people said they would prefer someone with a business background and new to politics. And also...
Oddly enough, that happens to be you, Phil.
That happens to be me. That's exactly right. And they also polled the question about whether they would want someone with Tea Party, a Tea Party type platform versus a regular GOP establishment platform. And that number came in the high 60s, I believe somewhere around 67, 68% in favor of a Tea Party platform.
What are your thoughts?
It's very encouraging.
Well, now, I'm assuming that our next campaign will be, I'm a businessman with no political experience. I feel, I'm just kidding. What are your thoughts on the fact that David Williams seems to be actively courting he is actively courting the Tea Party at this point for about the past, I'd say, 9 months. There's been a big push.
He has tried very hard, and it has not worked very well for him. There are roughly 50 liberty-oriented groups. That includes Tea Party groups, 912 groups, a group called Take Back Kentucky. And as far as we have been told by every one of those groups, we have their support. So it's, I understand him trying to do that, but it's hard for someone that is a 26, 27-year career politician that is as big an establishment guy as he can possibly be, to try to court the Tea Party group who's looking for smaller government and lower taxes. It just doesn't add up for him.
Now, Phil, are you going to be out and about anytime in the next little bit if people have the opportunity to come and do a grip and greet and maybe talk to you on a more personal basis?
Yes, actually, I will be in Lawrenceburg tonight from 6:30 to 8:30. We'll do a tweet on that and get the address out to everybody.
What's your Twitter account?
It is Moffett-Harmon 2010 or 2011. I'm sorry.
And Moffett is 2 F's, 2 T's.
That's right, with an E in the middle.
And it's just Moffett-Harmon, one word?
That's correct.
Okay. So if you're not following me, where's your website?
It's www.philmoffett.com. That's PHILMOFFETT.com.
I'll link to these on our website. If people want more information, they can follow your schedule, follow you on Twitter, donate money, do whatever it is that they want to do for your campaign. And I appreciate you giving me an hour today.
It's good to be here. I appreciate the time.
And I appreciate you rescheduling after last week's terrible illness.
Not a problem.
You did not want a piece of that, I'll tell you that.
I know exactly.
Phil, you'll be back. We'll have you back in a couple more times before the primary. I'm going to try and get all the candidates. We've had the David Williams on endlessly lately because of everything that's been happening in Frankfurt. So we're going to try and get you, and Bobby Holtzclaw is going to be on Wednesday.
Fantastic.
So we're going to give all of our audience is going to have a lot of opportunities to hear from the 3 gubernatorial candidates on the Republican ticket before the election. So have a great week, Phil.
I appreciate it, Mandy. Take care.
We will be back in just a few moments. Let's take a quick time out for the news, traffic, and weather on 84 WHAS.